The SLV 100. In Sweden's frozen north, the operators of these armored heavy haulers dice with death every day, carrying 50-ton loads of molten metal.
It really would kill you.
Skelleftehamn, North Sweden. This rural idyll is just 200 kilometers south of the Arctic Circle, and winter is fast approaching. But even as the mercury falls, one small island on the Baltic shore stays hot. The Ronnskar Smelter is one of the world's largest copper processing facilities, churning out 800 tons of the metal every day. And with it comes 1,600 tons of slag, a 1,300 Celsius molten mess that comes pouring out of the inferno in 50-ton loads. This waste product from hell could burn through a tank. To handle this mess, they need the toughest heavy hauler on the planet. The SLV 100 slag hauler. Weight 173 tons. Engine 400 horsepower. Armor 15 millimeters. The heavy lifting machine is covered head to toe in hardened steel armor to prevent spilled slag burning through to vital components. 500 liters of hydraulic fluid course through the armored monster's iron veins to power the two titanic lifting arms. Notches in the arms precisely fit the colossal metal cauldrons that catch the slag from each of the smelter's 10 furnaces. Crew. Drivers Klasse Marklund and Jimmy Eriksson. One wrong move from these guys could spill tons of deadly molten metal. Jan Stahl, plant production manager. Jan runs the show and he's always got his eye on the clock.
In this business, every day is a busy day and every hour counts.
Torbar, traffic coordinator. He issues the schedules, and if the drivers are late, they answer to him.
In our plant, I'm the boss.
Global demand for copper is sky high, and the Ronnskar Smelter is working round the clock to meet demand. In just 2 days, they'll have to deliver a massive order of 1,600 tons of metal for refining.
This business has to produce 800 tons of copper a day, otherwise we have a problem.
Copper ore concentrate arrives on kilometer-long trains from the Aitik mine, 400 kilometers to the north. The ore goes to the smelters, where it's heated to 1,300 degrees Celsius. Inside the furnace, the ore separates into dense molten copper, which sinks to the bottom, and lighter slag, which floats to the top. So to get at the copper, the operators must first siphon the slag off into 4-meter-tall ladles. Then huge gantry cranes carry the waste to the waiting slag carriers for disposal. All 10 of the plant's furnaces depend on the 2 SLV 100 carriers. If they can't keep up with production, the furnaces will back up with serious consequences.
Jaha, okay.
To keep up with today's target, Klasse and Jimmy will have to remove more than 60 of these 50-ton molten ladle loads.
I've had a massive day. I had a lot of work to do today.
The job of transporting deadly molten metal keeps the Ronnskar crew on their toes.
The slag at 1,300 centigrades, of course, it's very dangerous.
Every day, every load they carry is a potential brush with disaster.
It really would kill you, I would say that for sure.
And the load isn't just dangerous. At 50 tons, it's as heavy as 30 family cars. To handle it, the SLV 100 has 16 rubber tires set across 2 rear axles. To steer, Klasse uses 2 joysticks in his cab, activating 2 hydraulic pistons which orient the cab as they extend and retract. Klase picks his path across the site roads, then reverses into the slag pit to deposit his load. But he's making slow progress, and the Arctic air has cooled the surface of the slag. It's stuck to the ladle walls, and when Klase attempts to tip it, it's jammed solid. And while Klase's stuck trying to shift this load, work at the smelting plant is piling up. The Ronnskar Smelter has to have 1,600 tons of copper ready for refining in just 2 days. But the near Arctic conditions are playing havoc with the schedule. The slag carrier's load has cooled down too fast and stuck to the 23-ton ladle. Now operator Klase's workload is backing up. To crack the molten metal's crust, Klase activates the slag pit's remote-controlled pneumatic drill. From the safety of his cabin, he can precisely direct the robotic arm to steer the drill around the edges of the crust. With the obstruction now cleared, Klase commences the pour. And 50 tons of slag sinks into the pit where it will cool, eventually becoming part of the earth. But in the plant control room, traffic coordinator Torbar isn't happy about Klase's slow progress.
Yeah.
Today, the driver had a busy day. Today will be a lot on the radio, hunting him.
Okay, yeah. Hi.
Today, Torbar has scheduled 32 lifts to shift more than 1,000 tons of slag, and Klase is already late for his next pickup. While Klase runs the SLV 100 at its top speed of 15 kilometers per hour to collect the next load, Jimmy makes his run to the slag pit. But as Jimmy tips his load, the entire carrier shakes ominously. On an empty hauler, it would be disturbing. With 50 tons of molten metal balanced just meters from Jimmy's head, it's deadly serious. But once he started tipping, Jimmy can't stop halfway. He has to see it through. The hauler holds together till the ladle empties. Jimmy breathes a sigh of relief. As soon as he's dumped his load, Jimmy heads straight to the mechanic's yard. His hauler is out of action, and he knows that this is going to give Klase all kinds of headaches.
I guess Klase had to work hard now.
The furnaces don't stop just because the smelter's one slag hauler down.
Jaha, okay. Tack, tack. Hi.
When Klase hears the news, he knows what to expect, and he's not happy. Klase will just have to work twice as hard to cover the gap.
With one truck, it will be very stressful for me, but more stressful for him.
The Ronnskar Smelter still has to deliver 1,600 tons of copper by the end of the next day, and Klase's hauler works deep into the night. The Ronnskar smelting plant has been working through the night to deliver 1,600 tons of copper by the end of the day. One of the slag haulers is still down, and now calls to move slag are coming into Klase from all corners of the plant. Supervisor Torbar has to plan all of Klase's moves precisely if they're going to clear the backlog.
We can't do our job if the driver don't do as we say. It can be very critical.
But the plan is not making sense to Klase.
Don't have time to stand here. I have 4 jobs waiting right now.
In the smelting plant's repair yard, mechanic Mikhail is running checks on Jimmy's downed slag carrier. As he extends the carrier's arms, the damage is revealed.
The problem is the lubricant is broken up here. If you don't fix it, you can't get the pot empty.
A slag splash has burned through a lubricant pipe's protective lining, effectively paralyzing the loading arms.
It is big problem.
As the furnaces keep firing, Klasse's workload keeps growing, and the pressure is starting to show.
Klart att hämta kopparslaggen nu. Så alltså du får rappa på lite grann. Jag har bara en truck på när skänken är utkörd nu.
Okay. Hey.
All across the plant, the slag ladles are filling up. Klasse is one load away from bringing the whole smelting plant to a standstill.
He wants another one.
He's working at breakneck pace, but there's no way he can keep this up for the rest of his shift.
Wants them now.
At the far side of the plant, production supervisor Per Hendrik is overseeing one of the latest stages of the smelting process. The purified copper is formed into solid sheets by pouring it into a rotating mold of square trays. Each sheet is weighed before being sent on to the refinery. But the numbers coming from the scales make no sense to Per Henrik. And the production line has to come to a stop. The delay is a blow to the plant's production, but it's salvation for Klasse. He can use the time to eat into the slag backlog. But Jan knows they're still a long way shy of their target.
When we have one slag truck down for maintenance, it worries me a bit, yeah.
Klasse pushes hard, and by the time Per Henrik resets the scales and the smelter goes back to work, he's managed to shift 3 more loads. Back in the mechanic's shed, Mikael is getting to grips with the carrier's leaking lubricant pipe. He slices away the old lining and starts to remove the damaged pipe. Once he's fitted a replacement pipe, all he has to do is tighten a few bolts, and the damaged slag carrier is back in action. In spite of Klasse's heroic efforts yesterday, the smelting plant is still 300 tons short of the target. But now both heavy haulers are working in tandem, and the dynamic duo eats into the slag backlog. The smelting plant hits the 1,600-ton target with minutes to spare, and Klasse can finally take a breather.
I have put up 25, 30 ladles today. I want to go home. My head is full. I will sleep very good tonight. I'm totally exhausted.
Carrying molten metal that could kill you in seconds might just be the world's worst waste disposal job.